Hello, everybody, and welcome. All thanks to LD Mobile. This is NBL Overtime. And as we all start to get back to some type of new normal, as social distancing and restrictions get eased around the country, the NBL's just gone through the roof. The last 48 hours, the man of the moment, in fact, he's been the man of many moments, Bryce Cotton, in his NBL career, has re-signed. He's going to join us in a bit of about 35 seconds time. Andrew Bogut, little bit undecided, the Cairns Taipans, the coach of the year, Mike Kelly's going to join us. This is stacked. And a man whose energy is right up here is my man, Homicide. How you doing, Corey?
What's going on?
Oh, I'll tell you what's going on. Bryce is staying. Bogut, we're not sure about. The Taipans coach is going to tell us where they're looking when we get trimmed down to 2 imports. And, of course, plenty more going around the league as we get closer to that opt-in option from June the 1st, man. So I'm psyched. You got that energy, fam?
I got the energy.
Good. Liam, Santa Maria, hello to you.
Hello, Cam, Corey. Yes, this is more like it, right? We've got the free agent signings and the announcements going on. The MVP is back, like you say, another 3-year deal and stack show.
I'm excited. I'll be honest, the last 48 hours is more about getting back to some type of sport, the sport that we love. Starting to talk about putting the NBL 21 rosters together. Of course, Bryce Cotton stays. So that changes the conversation just a little bit around Tariko White, around Plumlee, how they're going to look at the rosters. And, of course, Cairns Taipans, another team that made the finals, they're going to have to make some decisions as well. But this, Liam, is feeling a little bit more like what we love to talk about, getting this crew all together back on court.
And shout out to the Perth Wildcats for getting the deal done so that we can all enjoy Bryce Cotton over the next 3 years. And Jack Bendat, the owner, Troy Georgiou, the CEO, Trevor Gleeson, the head coach, the whole organization, the fans. I tweeted this as well, the Red Army. If that club wasn't as supported as it is, it wouldn't have the capacity to get this kind of thing done because, make no mistake, Bryce Cotton has been paid. And it's a great result for him. It's a great result for his family, the Wildcats, but really the whole league for a whole bunch of different reasons. And can't wait to see him back on the NBL hardwood.
All right, he's about to join us. First, though, Homicide, you've been losing your mind on social media. We know how much you love the man, and rightfully so. You're excited to see him. Of course, like anyone, as Liam touched on, he's back in the league for at least 3 years.
Career numbers. This is what I'm going to touch on right now. 43% from the field, 39% from the land of plenty, 86% from the three-point line. 21.5, 3 and 3 is his career numbers. 3-time champion. I'm going to say it again because this is just what it is. 2-time finals MVP, 2-time MVP. Should have been 3-time MVP. Last season, 21.8, 3.5, 3.6. 43% from the field, 38 from the 3. I said it on Twitter already, but I'm going to say it right here.
Please.
If the Perth Wildcats did not bring this man back, it would have been a travesty to basketball. Okay? There is no way you have a player like that on your team that has had the success that he's had for your club, and you don't do whatever it takes to bring him back. That would have been as an equivalent as both Jerrys in Chicago that dismantled the Bulls, as we saw in the last dance.
I thought the only reason he was opting out was because he had an NBA deal in his back pocket.
I said he must have had one. He must have had one to opt out. That's the only thing that made sense. But clearly, he opted out because of the money. That's what it comes down to. That's the reality of it. They got their minds right. They went in their back pocket, handled what they needed to handle, and we are here.
I agree with the majority of that. I don't think they would have had to rebuild the Perth Wildcats. Would they have been as good? Probably hard to do to replace a Bryce Cotton. But I also don't think, and we talk about a team that's been in the playoffs for the last 79 years, I don't think we would have seen a 0-28 Perth Wildcats without Bryce Cotton. But having him in your team going forward is going to make them a hell of a lot better. It's exciting. Yes, Liam, because he's about to join us.
Well, the other thing is you've got to bring these guys back that we've all fallen in love with, that your passionate fans have fallen in love with. You know what I mean? Like there's a guy, right? Bryce Cotton arrived in the league, and then we got to know him and love him. Scott Machado, once they come here, they blow up, and we fall in love with them. You bring them back, and that's what the Wildcats have done time and again with Cotton, and they've nailed it again.
We have spoken a lot about this on NBL Rewind, talking about Leroy Loggins, Cal Bruton, Daryl McDonald. You know, guys, Steve Woodbury was here for a long time as well. Guys, Mark Davis, if you want to go back late 80s into the 90s in Adelaide. Players who traditionally used to come here, or imported players, hang around for a year or two, looking for maybe greener pasture somewhere else, probably normally financially, which I understand, but it stopped the basketball community and the fans falling in love with certain players. And this is what Bryce Cotton, and you touched on the Red Army on a tweet. Obviously, Homicide's been having a love-hate relationship with the entire Red Army the last 3 years, but a huge part of the reason why it's so big that Bryce Cotton is back is for the fact that the Red Army get to see him and cheer on him in a full house at RAC Arena at least once a week for 6 months. It's exciting. He's back. He's about to join us. And I don't know where you've been. If isolation and quarantine has got you losing your memory, here's a little refresher of what the MVP can do.
Here we go. Cotton. Well, he is the most entertaining player in the game right now. Going to work and putting on an absolute clinic. And the MVP chants come out, and they are absolutely justified. Does not get much better than this.
There you go. As I said, the man of the moment, the man of many moments. We talk of the MVP. You see a little highlight there. We're all going to, regardless if you're in a Red Army, part of the Red Army, you're a Wildcats believer and you're passionate, or you're a neutral fan like us, we're going to see Bryce Cotton back on the court for the Wildcats in NBL 21. And Bryce, there you go, man. I was going to give you a T-shirt and all your label. But welcome back. I know it's weird to say congratulations and welcome back because technically you haven't played anywhere else. But the best news is we're all going to see you back, mate. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's like I said, it's super exciting. This was obviously, it's been a home away from home for me for the last, 4 seasons. So to be extending the contract for 3 more, I'm just excited to see what's in store.
What other options did you look at, Bryce? Who else did you speak to in Europe, and how close did you get to inking something elsewhere?
So I had 2 nice offers in Europe, but I don't want to say I was close to signing just because I didn't want to rush anything. And that was kind of the point of me opting out as well. I felt very pressed for time, didn't have enough time to process the situation we were all faced with. And I just, felt at that time I definitely wasn't coming back, which is why I put the heartfelt post out. But seeing the offers I had, it definitely gave me some peace of mind, but I still wanted to see if anything else was going to come my way.
Congratulations on coming back. When I first came here, I was a non-believer. And during the last 3 years, you have made me a believer, and I am one of the biggest advocates on the Bryce Cotton trade. A good friend of mine, who's a good friend of yours, which is Shamgard, told me about you. And we was joking yesterday, actually, about the success you've had. And I spoke very highly of you, and I'm just glad to see you back. And what changed for me was seeing you against the Denver Nuggets in Denver and how you gave them the business, and it carried over into that championship year. And I saw your mindset. I always wanted to see, when I see a good player, what does he do against NBA competition? And the way you torched them, you have my respect from there. So I'm just glad to see you here. And the way you handled Game 3 in Sydney, oh my goodness. That right there allowed me to know you're the baddest man in the land. You had a triangle and twos. You still finished with 30. Still finished with 30.
Hey, you know what? I'm just glad you're here, Bryce, because we have to hear this every single week. And while we agree, he loves you so much, man. So you respond, because I've been doing it for 3 months.
Isn't this the man who has Scott Machado for MVP?
That's right. I did.
I was trying to tell the man the whole season, Bryce.
And I said, Bryce Cotton, the best player, but Scott is the MVP this year. But anyway, carry on.
Well, let me just say, me and Sham, we've had some conversations about you as well, especially the first year you was here. And I think I appreciate you telling me all that stuff, but I think one thing that definitely motivated me is, the fact that I've always been overlooked throughout my whole career. And when I finally felt like I was starting to get recognition I deserved, you was definitely a big critic, and I wasn't used to that. And I also felt the things you was criticizing, you definitely didn't believe either. But I threw it to the fuel tank. And one thing that I've never forgotten is, I think your first year you said, what did you say? You said, I'm a distant third behind Edgar Sosa or something like that. And I've never forgotten that. But I definitely didn't think you believed it, but you said it, and it was fuel to the fire. And you've thrown a lot of fuel to the fire for me, but I appreciate it. And it is what it is, but that's what we do as hoopers. We don't.
And that's exactly what I appreciate. What you just said, it's motivation. And when you're playing against somebody, well, whether not me, but, me as in the position that we're in on this platform, who has an opportunity to say a lot and talk a lot, and our voice carries, the best thing to do is hoop. And that's how you kill the critics. And that's what you did. And that's why I respect it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know, I definitely use that fuel, but I don't think you believed some of them things she was saying, but I appreciate it.
Yo, let me tell you, I know I can't take the show over, but my favorite moment with you hit the N-1-3, and you came to the commentators and pointed, we making playoffs. I said, oh my goodness. I never seen nothing like that happen before in my life, because the commentator's really like obsolete. You don't see a commentator. Yo, when you did that, I said, yo, he's focused. He actually listens to what I said.
You know what? While I got you here too, I want to say as well, when we beat Melbourne in the championship, I was disappointed you was gone, because I saw you during warm-ups of that game 4.
Right.
And when it was about a minute left,
right,
me and Tarico started talking, trying to find you.
Oh!
So we couldn't find you.
Couldn't find me. Yo, my battery died. I went to the bathroom.
Hey, Bryce, I'll tell you exactly how that played out, because Homicide and I were standing together at just behind one of the baskets, and it was a minute to go, and Homicide said, I got invited to a Grand Prix party. I think this is a good time for me to actually attend it, and walked out the back door.
I believe it. I was looking for you.
Since we keep it real, Yo, I was sick. I left the building, yo. Bryce Cotton and Tarico White got kicked me out. I left the building. I was like, I can't see this. No way this is happening.
Hey, Bryce, you talk about being overlooked. People saying it can't be done, right? Too small, too this, too that. Corey saying you guys can't win the title. You need a third import, saying you're third behind Edgar Sosa, so on and so forth. Nobody's overlooking anything now, right? You've won 3 titles, 2 MVPs, 2 finals MVPs. Where does the motivation come from now to keep performing at that super duper star level?
I mean, that's just how I'm built. I always set goals to myself, and whenever I achieve them, I look for new things. And you know, you never want to lose that chip on your shoulder. And yeah, I guess there's not as many people saying doubts or whatever in this league, but you know, I've worked so hard to get to this point. So, you know, once you get to the top of the mountain, you know, I guess the new goal is seeing how long can you stay there.
Obviously, such strange times. You touched on it both, you know, professionally and personally. You know, lockdown, quarantine. We're all living much different lives. Now you've signed, and the relief is there. Like, what are your plans for the next couple of months while the NBL works through different ways to logistically get this year going? Like, are you having a little bit of time off now to try and physically, you know, rest a little bit, or are you back on court? What are you allowed to do, and what do you want to do to make sure that next couple of months you're not just sitting on the couch eating like we normally do?
I mean, yeah, no, I'm still staying fit. I haven't been able to shoot any baskets or nothing like that, but I run every morning, do like body weight workouts and stuff like that. So I'm doing everything I can to stay tip-top shape. But once I'm able to get back in the gym, I'll be happy about that, though. Do you miss
shooting hoops? You just miss getting out there and having a shoot around every now and then? How much do you miss it on a daily basis?
Man, it's like I'm going through withdrawals. This is the longest I've never not shot a basketball, like, in my life. So this is all very new and different, but it's not like I'm doing this by choice. So I just make sure I stay active in other ways.
Hey, Bryce, where's the citizenship at? Because I'm telling you, man, I mean, if that comes through, like, as much as I love the Wildcats and your guys, the ability to bring you back and get things done, like, I also like a competition. And if that comes through and they can move your contract into a marquee player slot and go ahead and bring in, I mean, it's just over. Is there any chance it comes through prior to this season?
Yeah, like I said, I honestly don't know, man. Like, all the paperwork that I had to sign, like, I did all that stuff and filled it out, I think, last August. So it's literally been a waiting game for me. And, you know, I have no idea when it's going to come, but, you know, obviously the sooner the better. You know, it'd be great for me individually, and it'd be great for our team as well. So I'm really hoping it's coming soon, honestly.
Do you allow yourself, I know it's always uncertain when you're waiting on the paperwork and it to come through, but like, do you allow yourself to dream about the Olympics and the possibility of being a boomer?
So I never thought about it until everybody else kind of started talking about it. And then I did some research.
Sorry about that.
Huh? Oh.
We apologize. We talk about it all the time.
Nah, that's all good. So yeah, I started doing research, and then I found there was a few Americans that have done it. You know, Sean Redditch, Kevin Lish, Ricky Grace. So there's a few guys, you know, that have done it. So, you know, for me to potentially be another one of those guys, that would be awesome. Yeah, so I didn't think about it at first, but once that idea was out there, I was like, damn, like, that actually might be pretty cool to happen.
Any last words for your main man?
Sorry,
4 years in. 4 years in. 3 chips, 2 times MVP. 2 times finals MVP. My opinion, it should have been 3-time MVP, but we're not going to go there right now. That's in the past. We're here. You got a 3-year deal, if I'm correct. This is what it's been reported.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I say, you the best import to ever play in Australia. This is the best the league's ever been. It's now a world-class league, and I stand by that. Now, how soon before that statue needs to be in front of RAC Arena? How soon? How many more championships we gonna run it out and get? Look, I am Team Perth. I don't know if you know the history between me and the Wildcats. We hate each other. Trust me, I am a part of the Red Army. I don't have no alliance. I don't have no alliance with no players, no team in this league. And I think it's a great thing. That keeps me honest. And I have no bias with nobody. But I'm like low-key a part of the Red Army now. You made me a believer. So I think we actually need maybe one or two more. I think two more for the statue, but one more to say like you the best ever out here, B. So let's stay focused and get to work.
Always more work to be done.
Hey, Bryce, let's imagine the citizenship doesn't come through, which the whole rest of the league will be happy about because they get that luxury tax. Anyway, if it doesn't come through, they can only have one other import. If you're the GM of the Wildcats, you're Trevor Gleason, you're Troy Georgia, you're working it all out. Would you go and bring back Tarico Wyatt, or would you go and bring back Miles Plumlee?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. I mean, yeah, like I said, it just depends, man. That's a tough one, but luckily I don't have to make a decision. And yeah, hopefully if we get that citizenship, then we won't even have to worry about it.
Oh my God. Yo, what's up with Nick K?
Hey, man, everybody's got to do what's best for him.
Right.
Whatever he does, I support it, though. But, yeah, like I said, it's interesting times for everybody, though. But, this is definitely good news for the Wildcats, and hopefully there's more good news to come with Nick and, whatnot. So fingers crossed.
Mate, lastly, before we let you go, we love the social media work of all the clubs and the inside and behind-the-scenes access we do get to see. And a huge part of that was when it was announced by Larry Kesselman and Jeremy Lowlegger that you were the NBL champions. You were sitting in that room, and you were incredibly emotional and excited at the time, as we all expected. Just wind the clock back and your mind back a couple of months when the announcement was made and we seen you jump up and then hug Damien Martin. What was it like? What was it like being in that kind of weird situation? Of course, you're the champions, but not on a court at the time. What was it like?
I mean, it was a good feeling because from my perspective, going over to Damo in particular, basically thinking, this is going to be his last year. I was so happy that, Damo could go out on a winning note. And then from my standpoint, I felt like I had a lot of fuel from not getting MVP the previous year and finding out I was third in voting at that.
Told you.
That really bothered me. So once we had this tremendous year as a team and, just pretty much did everything we needed to do in the grand finals except get that third win, I didn't want to feel like me or my team got robbed of something like a second year in a row. So it was like, damn, all right, we got it. So I guess that's where that came from.
Can you give us what is the latest Damien Martin news? We spoke about a month ago, and of course, weird timing with everything, but how's he tracking, of course, after the surgery? Is he still a little undecided, or do you think he won't be back?
I haven't talked to him about it. I asked him how his recovery's going. He just had his jaw repaired as well, so
oh my God.
Yeah, Damo's just getting everything worked on, but Damo's a warrior, man. And if I never play with him again, I'm happy I was able to be a part of his decorated career. That's for sure.
All right. Any last words, Corey?
No, that's it, man. Good luck.
Liam?
Appreciate you. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Thanks for signing on. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, definitely.
No doubt. Bryce Cotton, the Red Army go nuts, but so do NBL fans right around the country to see Bryce Cotton in a Wildcats jersey from NBL 21 for the next 3 years. And from the current MVP to a former MVP, and Andrew Bogan, the news that broke yesterday.
Lish has to go back and retrieve it. Bogut turns inside on Moore. Oh, beautiful piece of work by the superstar, Andrew Bogut. And these kids are turning it on. Didi Lozada at one end, RJ Hampton at the other, and the alley. The jam! Andrew Andrew Bogut. The old guys are doing it too.
They hand it off to Randall. We're watching him like a hawk. He's on the move, comes off the screen, and Bogut sends it away.
He's 84% from the free throw line too this season, so ultra reliable from there. Oh, big jam from Bogut brings the house down.
Trying to blow this game open in the third. Casper Ware to Bogut on the move. Yes. Big Bogut says, "I'll meet you, Miles Plumlee, and match you with this."
A little bit of Andrew Bogut, of course, MVP a couple of years ago. So from one MVP in the news that he is staying to the news that Andrew Bogut may not be, of course, has been a fair point of conjecture since the Sydney Kings lost their grand final series in NBL 20. Whether Andrew Bogut went out of contract would continue into NBL 21 and beyond. And to be honest, the answers weren't exactly given yesterday, although there was some type of indication that it's a much harder conversation for himself than it might have been for us. And this is Andrew Bogut when he posted on social media yesterday afternoon, I quote, "I've decided not to sign with the Sydney Kings or any professional sporting team for that matter for the time being. With everything going on in the world, the future does not look too clear, most notably in regards to sporting leagues worldwide. This is by no means a retirement note, but simply saying any concrete decisions are too hard to be made at this point in time." He said the reason he decided to do this now is to give the Sydney Kings enough notice to act accordingly, with free agency being around the corner. He goes on to say that he's enjoying the break. He played a great deal of basketball back to back to back. The Kings, of course, then, of course, back to the NBA, then the World Championships, and his body's enjoying it, as well as spending a lot of downtime with his family, which is something he hasn't been able to do since becoming a professional in 2005. I'm going to start with you, Liam Santa Maria. When this was released yesterday by Andrew Bogut on his social media, what was your thoughts?
It was big news. It's always big news when there's an update on Andrew Bogut's status and his playing future. I mean, this is a guy who's one of the greatest ball players Australia's ever produced. He put the NBL back on the map in a big way when he came back to our league a couple of seasons ago. And he's had the Sydney Kings in the finals the last couple of years, grand final appearance, and as you say, an MVP. So whilst it wasn't a definitive statement, it is nonetheless big news. And we were hanging out to hear what he was going to do, right? So for me, it was a bit of a disappointing statement because I was hoping to hear I'm re-upping with the Kings. But I can certainly understand his kind of wait and see approach. And that's what it was for me. I think the key kind of phrases in the statement were for the time being. He didn't say I'm not going to sign with the Kings or another team for the 2020-21 season. He just said for the time being. He wants to wait and see how things are playing out. And then the other point was when he said it's a difficult time to make concrete decisions. For me, I think the big fella is waiting to see what the season looks like.
No doubt.
When's it going to start? Mm-hmm. How many games per week? How many games are going to be condensed into a shorter time frame potentially? So does it mean he's not going to play for the Kings next season? No, nowhere near that. But it does mean he's not rushing into any decision. And obviously the Kings can now go about planning for the potential that they're not going to have him on court.
Hear him talking about the Olympics, of which he's been a part of a Boomers team at Olympics and World Championships in the past. I felt it was a big lure in NBL 20 going to Tokyo in 2020, and that might have been the perfect way to end an illustrious career. Now, of course, the coronavirus pushing it back. Where's his body at? Obviously, it was, has to be managed at certain times with his management last year and not traveling a couple of times to Perth. So to be able to look at that, I think you're right. If there's a way that the season is a little bit smaller, less games, and it gives him a chance to be a part of that Tokyo team 12 months later, I think that is something he's weighing up. Homicide.
Andrew Bogut, I said this about maybe 6 weeks ago. We had NBL overtime.
Yes, you did.
I said it's very interesting that he would drop a comment saying he doesn't know if he's going to play. He's not sure. Keep us posted. This is the same time when the whole free agency, it wasn't really sure if Cotton opted out. And I said, if Cotton plays, he's going to retire and not play next season. If Cotton does not come back, he's going to play. I guarantee you he don't come back. Can't beat Bryce Cotton. He cannot beat Bryce Cotton. He cannot beat Bryce Cotton. He will be 0-3 going for a championship.
Corey, put some respect on the man's name. His decision about playing next season, season after that, any decision about his future has nothing to do with Bryce Cotton.
Yeah, okay. 24 hours he drops this right before Bryce Cotton media release drops. I find that strange.
Come on, man.
I think the thing is, right, and you would know this.
You lose in the championship the way you did. A true competitor's running it right back. You home. This is one of the safest countries to play. Isn't that what we preach? Is that not true?
Agreed.
So what would be an issue then?
But then who's saying
you're not in America going to play?
You're reading this 100% as a retirement.
What I'm saying is that when you lose in the championship in the manner that you did, you should be wanting to run that back immediately. My hand is up. You're the team leader.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you thinking about what you're going to do? You're home. This is the safest country to play in. What's the problem?
Well, the problem might be he's been a professional for 15 years and his body might be breaking down more so than we realise. Now, I agree with what you're saying, and I think that you can't question him, and you would know this, and what you just touched on better than anyone. You can't question him as a competitor, as a guy who's been...
How much load management did he have last season? The most of any player.
But
how much rest is he getting right now?
But, yeah, you're right.
Rest.
But, you know what, it has only been a shorter period of time. Liam makes a good point. If the NBL come out and say, look, due to coronavirus, due to fans not being allowed into a certain time, we've got a shortened season. We're going to play 18 games. You're going to play everyone twice. That might be the dangling the carrot compared to playing 35 games and having to travel right around the country with a full NBL schedule. And the way that he's back has obviously been a fairly big problem the last couple of years.
And then you double down on that, Cam, and he's sitting there looking at the potential and go, hold on, what if this thing doesn't start until, say, December? But they're going to play a full 28-game schedule and they're going to condense it. And now I'm playing an NBA-style schedule, which is precisely the reason I'm not playing over there right now. And the reason I came to the NBL in the first place. The man's just waiting and seeing to see what the season's going to look like, what coronavirus, whether we have a second wave. He's not committing to anything. Why does he need to commit to anything? He doesn't need the money.
Hey, well, and that's the big thing for me is that now, you know, I don't know him at all, but if he's had, and he seems like an intelligent dude at times, I think that financially, I'm sure he's doing pretty well considering he in the show for so long. So him opting out, allowing Sydney to build a roster to their full financial capabilities might then re-energize him. And he's like, you know what? I don't need to play for money. I want to play for the love of the game, or I want to play to try and get to the Boomers. He may retire. He may retire. But I also don't think he's running away from Bryce Cotton.
Was it championship or bust? That's what that man said, correct?
Yeah, but that's
Was it a championship or bust?
But he may have used that exact quote.
I mean, he did.
Well, then it's
nothing that he didn't say.
But then NBL 20, NBL 20 was a bust.
What are you thinking about?
But that's for NBL 20 was a bust then, based on that quote. It doesn't necessarily mean, hey.
Wouldn't you want to run it back? What are you waiting on? You are a pivotal piece to what the Sydney Kings do. What are you waiting on?
But
it's not about a short season. It's going to be load management anyway.
Yeah, but if he allows it and the Kings to be able to sign other players in a situation, it might make his load management easier. If he opts back in right now and
how easy was the load management last year? They were in first place. They made history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How easy can your load management be?
We got one less import this year.
Come on, guys. What are we talking about here?
So if he's in a situation where he opts in September, they've been able to put together this roster, which includes maybe...
How better can a roster be? They were in first place all year last year.
So
how better can it be?
So based on that, you're just saying he shouldn't bother coming back. He shouldn't bother coming back.
Listen, man, that team out west, Bryce Cotton's here. He won't win a championship while Bryce Cotton's here.
Hashtag NBL overtime to get involved. All right, let's park that. Mike Kelly's going to join us in a couple of minutes' time as well, because there's a lot going on. We've got July 1 is free agency. June 1 is when it comes to mutual team or individual player options, when it comes to opting in and out. I might start with Southeast Melbourne Phoenix because, you know, we made a fair bit this last year of Ben Madgen signing on in his year at the Phoenix. That's to be confirmed, and we expect in the next, less than a week now to make a decision, both as individual and as a club. What are you hearing, Liam?
Well, I'm not expecting Southeast Melbourne to pick up option, pick up their half of that option. And we flagged this a while back, at the start of the off season. They signed him to a.
Oh, I lost you.
Mic off.
In excitement, he's kicked out his microphone. This is when Liam Santamaria really goes to the next level. When we start talking player, club, mutual options, players putting pen to paper, and his excitement, he's booted it out with his size 13 Converse that he's wearing. Are we back?
I'm back.
Good. Fire away.
But, it's an interesting one with Ben Madgen because I think the landscape, 2 imports, the salary reductions across the board, I think that might have just changed the state of play with regards to Ben Madgen, whether that's with the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix or made him more attractive to a bunch of other teams around the league. So I think there'd be an element of rethinking going on within Southeast Melbourne. Say, okay, hold on. Well, we were going to walk away from this without a shadow of a doubt, but let's maybe have a look at this over again and see where things stand. I don't think they'd pick up that option, but whether they tear it up and renegotiate, I think we're at a point now where it's not certain that Madgen won't be back at Southeast Melbourne.
Do you like his year last year, Homicide? You would have seen a fair bit of him in your role. Did you like, after such a long time in Europe, to be back here in Australia, 34-year-old, starting at Phoenix at a new franchise? What did you make of his year?
Yeah, I liked him. He's a two-way player, brings it defensively. He's super intense on the ball, did a really good job defensively. Offensively, at times his shot wasn't falling, but he was still a critical part to what the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix did.
As I said, 34, so much time in Europe, back in Australia, got the family. You would think that every NBL club that have some financial maneuvering to be done would pick up the phone to his agent and say, hey, what's going on? And for the way that he's gone about it, been across the world and been as successful he has, in his last tenure in the NBL, if you're Illawarra, and they've got obviously other stuff they're working on at the moment, but hey, Benny, you here to stay? Boom. Let's get you down in the Hawks jersey because he's the type of guy that can help you, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. I just think it's a different situation to what it was, say, this time last year, where, Southeast Melbourne Phoenix were in the market for Nathan Sobey, didn't get him. All right, now we put some finances behind bringing Ben Madgen in. He becomes our starting shooting guard and we go from there. Well, I'm not sure that you're looking at that situation in the same way right now. But, like I said, the landscape has changed with 2 imports, and that does change things a little bit when you're looking at a guy like Madgen.
Player option for Jason Kadee at Brisbane, but you gave us about 3 months ago that he was staying at Brisbane. We can lock that in?
Done.
All right, beautifully done. Interesting one about Perth, Majuk, because now with Bryce Cotton staying, does it change where they look for a second import or the way they structure it might be? What are you hearing about the big man who last year, of course, was in certain aspects, played himself into a Perth Wildcats roster in that all NBL team, that tour of China, played really well, then got an opportunity again after sitting on that bench in New Zealand. What are you hearing about the big man?
Look, I'm not hearing anything in particular, but bring that man back.
Yeah,
pick that option up and bring him back because he played a role and I thought he got the job done on a championship winning team. So I think he's only going to kind of get better from there. We saw the same thing happen with Clint Steindl within that Wildcat system. That first year he came in, just finding his feet, getting used to what goes on over there out west. And then he comes out in year 2 and was a key part of a championship team. Majuk can go up a level from what he did last year. And, you didn't sign him to a massive contract out of the gate. So pick that option up.
He brings that energy too, Homicide, which you like.
He definitely does. I think he was a real good pickup. Think about it. Trevor Gleeson gave him a lifeline. And, he came in, he played his hardest when he had his minutes and got a championship because of it. That's the reward that he got. So I wouldn't mind seeing him go back to the Perth Wildcats.
Club option, Craig Muller, the Sydney Kings. This is an interesting one because early on, obviously crossing over from Melbourne United, was really good. Then hurt. I think it might have been the heel. It was definitely foot related. Missed so much of the year, come back for the playoffs, but probably didn't. Lost his little bit of spot in the rotation and wasn't anywhere near as effective as he was early in the year. What are you hearing with the big dreadlock guy?
Again, it's pretty quiet at this point with a lot of these guys. And, all these teams have been pretty much locked down in terms of their decision-making over recent times. I get the feeling this is starting to open up a little bit now in terms of looking at constructing these rosters. But again, run it back with Craig Muller, because as you say, he was, he was like a best six-man candidate before he got hurt last season, was playing a really important role for the Kings. And Will Weaver had tapped into how to get the most out of him, continuing to get all over the offensive glass, using his length and athleticism defensively, but was also giving him some real confidence at the offensive end. So especially with Xavier Cooks and his situation in limbo and potentially not being a part of the roster, they need Craig Muller back, and I'd be picking up that option.
Hashtag NBL overtime to get involved June 1st, be it club, mutual or play. Although I don't buy the mutual option in sport. I think it's always a mutual option is always geared towards the club for obvious reasons. But we'll know by June 1, free agency on July 1st. And for you Cairns Taipans fans, which there are now a lot after the 12 months that club has had, we're not forgetting you. We're not ignoring you, because you've got a pretty long list when it comes to opt-in, opt-out, club, mutual, all the rest of it. But we thought we'd allow the coach of the year, Mike Kelly, to tell us himself.
And with that said, it's my pleasure to announce the 2019-20 Lindsay Gaze Coach of the Year, Mike Kelly from the Cairns Taipans.
Really happy with a road win against a really good team.
Cairns have slayed another giant.
And look what it means to the Cairns Taipans. They know how big this is.
We have a lot of different players, and it's taken this group a little bit of time to get together and play with great chemistry. I just come back to these guys continuing to believe in.
And this very fun, entertaining, talented, dangerous Cairns Taipans team are going to play finals in NBL 20.
And for the first time on NBL Overtime, as I said, the coach of the year. What a wonderful season it was, NBL 20 for the Cairns Taipans. We're joined by Mike Kelly. Mike, welcome, mate. Finally, we spent a year trying to get you on, mate. So thanks for coming on and saying good day.
Appreciate it. Nice to be here.
Look, obviously this is the generic question, but how are you handling it? It is a beautiful part of the world where you live, but in this situation where we've got the restrictions, but also when you're trying to put together a basketball team that has to, do the exact same thing you did last year and go a couple of steps further. How you found the whole situation?
Yeah, it's I think like everybody, the uncertainty is sometimes hard to deal with. First, just happy that we're safe here and around Australia, much more so than America and California, where my family's safe, but it's still restricted. So kind of counting the blessings at the same time is like, what the hell is happening, But no, we've been good up here, and Cairns in particular. And for me, I've got 3 kids, and my oldest daughter, Ashton, was in the States going to school. So we got her home, and she graduated, did her last month here. And we were really lucky to have all 3 of our kids in the house again. Who knows when that would happen.
Just on that, are you the resident homeschooler in the Kelly household, or is it your wife?
Well, we've kind of handled that together.
Yep.
We've been lucky that we can be very hands off and tell our kids that this is your responsibility, and then just check on them every once in a while. And with my youngest son, Josh, that's how we've handled it. He's still in year 11, but we've had to be a little more hands on recently. And so he's had some good conversations, and he's back on track.
It actually sounds like us with Homicide. When we started NBL Overtime, we said, this is you, man. We'll just check in every now and then to make sure he's still working, and he's still here. So I like it. Liam, what do you got?
Mike, first chance to speak to you since after the season. Congrats again on an awesome year. As Cam said, Coach of the Year, got the team back to the finals, 1 win away from a grand final appearance. What were the outcomes of the review process? What were the 1 or 2 big ticks that you feel like you guys got right? And the 1 or 2 things you've entered this offseason going, here's how we take that next step.
Yeah, appreciate it. First of all, this has been a really good team effort from the first time that I came up, or even had those conversations when I was in Melbourne with Mark and Troy in the administration here. So we've had great support right from the start, and then luckily been able to keep Jamie O'Loughlin and Brad Hill here. So we've had a little bit of continuity there. And I think that leads into what you asked. You know, we had some continuity there with the coaching staff, and obviously the support of the admin was good. And we had a pretty good, you know, the first year we didn't win a lot of games, but we had a good group of guys who competed all the time. So we wanted to keep that competitive nature and have the idea that we're gonna get better at every position. And so personnel was big for us. I think we did a good job of and got fortunate with some of the guys. Like you could tell that Majuk Dang was a competitor and had gifts, but to get him on board and have him here and see what a good person he is and how much of he's crazy, but he fits with the rest of the crazy guys. As Nate Jawai said, talking about Mirko, he said, you know, Mirko's crazy. And I was kind of like, oh yeah. And he goes, yeah, but I like that because I'm crazy too. So we had a good mix of crazy, you know, we had, and talent, and the guys came together probably in some ways that we couldn't predict, but they came together very well. And we had great leadership in Nate, DJ Newbill, and also Scott Machado, and Jared Kinney is kind of always that leveler and a leader in his own right. So we had a good group of guys, and they bought in from the start that they were going to compete and play hard. And then we did a better job of defining roles than we had done the year before. And even at the beginning of the season, I hadn't done a fantastic job of doing that as I got to know the guys. And it got better as the thing went along. So that was a lot of fun to see us winning games. And as we finished the season, and you know, I think only Perth is probably happy with how the season really finished. Them being the winners in the end. We did some really good things, but we also had we have big room for growth, and so to kind of find a way to do that, I think we need to obviously cut down on turnovers, so we can look at structure, we can look at roles, we can look at accountability and discipline, those things, and then the rebounding both ends. So these are some things that we've already, as coaches, started to talk about, as players through the exit meetings, and also some of the guys have still been in town or back and forth into town. We've been able to have those conversations, and hopefully it's pointing us in the right direction for next year.
Coach.
Yeah.
2 imports now. Who stays and who goes? You had 3 incredible players at those import spots. Yeah. Couldn't have done it any better if you ask me. But you can only keep 2, if you can get 2 of them.
Yeah.
What's the process that goes into trying to get both of those guys back? At least 2 guys back.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you guys tell me. You know, you guys tell me who we're keeping. This is where I get my news about the Cairns Taipans.
We all differ on who you should be trying to bring back. Actually, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago.
I'm not saying who we should bringing back. I'm saying who we are bringing back. You guys.
All right, I think
that's Liam.
In this league, the point guard position is pivotal, as well as your center position. You've nailed those. DJ Newbill, oh my God, career year, defensive player of the year, best 2-way player in the league this past season. If it's hard to pick, you can go either way, that dynamic backcourt, but you lose Cam, who's had an incredible season. You know, the 2-man and the 5-man, and you lose the key to the whole thing, Machado. So for me, I would go 1 and 5. As much as I love DJ Newbill, in this league to continue to win, and he plays such a pivotal part, you got to have a 1 and a 5.
Yeah, and you know, I was kind of just having to dig at you guys because I get to be here and say it. But no, we've been talking to those guys throughout the season because we knew, or at least we came to know how special those guys are. And you know, as I mentioned to Liam before, we didn't know Majuk Dang intimately. Like, we didn't know how good of a dude he is. But it's the same thing other than DJ. We didn't know Cam and Scott the way we know them now. These guys are better people than players. So all three had phenomenal seasons and were key to us having a great season, or at least stepping in the right direction on how we want to go. So the process is that we've spoken to guys during the season. That's, imports and Australians and or locals, and those are, those conversations are continuing right now. And I guess with the uncertainty, it's throwing everything up in the air with imports and local guys as well. We're just lucky that nobody opted out, and gives us a little bit more security. But yeah, we're continuing to have those conversations and talk about those roster builds and all the permutations and whose spot could you fill and who could you not fill. So those are all conversations we're having now as we continue to talk with those guys and their agents.
Mike, you mentioned obviously second year as a coach for yourself and getting to know new people, and then of course players like Majuk Deng who you'd coached against and understanding both them on and off the court. From where we sit in a commentary role, or even NBL fans, they would point to that big win you had in Perth early last year as, that whole, hey, you know what, this Gant's team are going to be pretty good. Internally, is that when you start to realise that you were going to have a real crack at this and you've got the right mix of guys, or did you have signs earlier than even that it made you realise, or maybe it took you a couple of weeks after that Perth win to be able to realise how good you would be? Is there an actual point you can put a finger on?
Yeah, I think that was definitely a big one for us because we were not playing great basketball and we were not getting big wins before that one. And then we go to Perth, and I'm still trying to figure out how to push buttons with these guys and what the combinations are going to be. We had played a lot of different combinations up to that point. There was flashes all through preseason of kind of the ability to play basketball, the athletic ability of some of these guys. I think you guys were there when Southeast Melbourne beat us at Kilsyth, and I was watching the clips after, and Cam had some crazy dunk, but we were down 12, so it wasn't like we were saying, "Oh, look how good we are." It was more like, "Oh my goodness, if we put guys in the right spots, we got a chance to be pretty good." And that Perth game, we made plenty of mistakes, but we made shots, and it was kind of like, okay, here's us fulfilling a little bit of our potential. So it was definitely kind of a brightener where we said, okay, even when we're down, our guys can, go in there with a free mind and play basketball, and that's what they did. But we didn't figure it out. At that point, we still had some bad losses after, or I shouldn't even say bad losses. We still played some bad basketball after that, and inconsistent basketball. And it wasn't until we lost to Illawarra, and I think it might have been the third time, we did our normal game review times 10, and it was a review through the whole, not only through the team and the coaches, it was through the administration, and there was some tough questions asked at that point, and that was where we had to state what we stood for and how we were going about things and how we were going to get better, because we went from 6-22 to like 2-6 with the players that we had said, okay, we've had time to research and find guys that we like, and this is the team we put out there, and right now we're 2-6, and how are we going to fix that? So, that was where, from then on, was kind of where we kind of found our mojo.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You guys go, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, 1-3 against Illawarra, or
yeah.
What was the record? 1-3, right?
Yeah.
Do you have sleepless nights, as good as you've had a success this year? Do you still have sleepless nights at what could have been position-wise had you won those games versus Illawarra? Technically, you're in first place.
I was getting over it, and I was doing okay. And then I saw something about LaMelo's triple-double game, highlights all week. But yes, there's not just that game, there's a number of games, and I'm not saying we should have won this game and should have lost, because we won some close games. But yes, Illawarra, yes, Southeast Melbourne, when we have a 6-point lead with 20 seconds to go and turn it over, and they hit 2 threes, push it into overtime. Sydney, we're up 10 in the fourth quarter and run it down our leg. You know, there was a number of games where it was just our inconsistency overall. And until we ironed that out somewhat and made shots, it was going to be tough. So yeah, there's a number of games we look back and right now, truthfully, at the end of the season, it was the going over the playoffs to start and working backwards. And the things that give me sleepless nights really have been the Perth series and what we could have done better against a really tough and talented Perth team to be the team that was playing Sydney.
I think it panned out as quite an interesting trivia question in the future. You guys are the only team LaMelo Ball beat in his NBL career, and he did it 3 times. And you guys were 1 win away from a grand final series. Pretty unbelievable. Let's look forward, Mike. Let's talk about Mojave King, the next star you unveiled during the week. I'm super excited about what kind of a prospect this kid is. What have been your impression? I think it was a masterstroke by you the other day, just quietly, to talk about put it right out on the public record from the get-go about his mentality, what's been, agreed upon, what hasn't been agreed upon, and where he sits coming in. What are your impressions of this kid, and what do you expect we'll see out of him this season?
Yeah, and it's all, I got to see him in the under-18s last year after we had lost and down in Townsville, and he was very athletic, and people were saying great things about him. And I had seen him as a junior because he's just a year above my own son, who's in year 11. Crazy. But so I'd seen him some as he grew up and knew his father, Leonard, through Basketball Queensland and basketball in general. And so I knew that he was very athletic. I knew that he could shoot the ball. He's long and rangy for a good, 6'4.5", 6'5". So he's got an opportunity to be a really good defender. But it was mostly on film that we had seen him. So I hate just making decisions on film, but the stuff in our conversations, not that it changed my mind. I was already sold on him as a player and a potential very good player. But just being able to, in those conversations, talk to him about those things, about playing and fighting for minutes, and why he would want to come here to Cairns. And some of it was style of play, and some of it was personnel that he thought he could learn from. At the time, we were talking, it was DJ Newbill, Scott Machado, Jared Kinney, these great vets that we had, who he thought he could learn from. So it was kind of cool to hear that. I didn't mean to, at the time, I didn't think through the Next Stars thing, and I wasn't really pointing fingers at guys who had said, I need a guarantee. It was more just saying, hey, this is Mojave's attitude, is he wants to come in here and compete, and that lines up exactly how we're going about things. And as things have gone over the last season, especially the development of younger guys through a Marlins program here in the NBL 1, which Jamie and Brad are coaching or would have coached this offseason, it lines up perfectly with us and trying to get these young players to play, and then guys like Fab and George, Anthony Fisher, getting the opportunity to step onto a roster after being a development player or a training player. And I think they saw that and we're kind of like, okay, this is somewhere where young guys are going there trying to get better, and they're getting something out of that.
What's the state of play with Kwat Noi, Mike? Mutual option on that second year of his deal. The expectation was that he would have been over in the States throughout this offseason in a normal world. And then obviously there was the opt-out consideration and what went down there. Where do things sit with him?
Yeah, we're hopeful that he'll be back also. It's not, there's nothing that's done officially right now, but he was so good, and also his ceiling is still high. And that 6 weeks, with the high ankle sprain, bone bruising, like You know, he had nine rebounds in that first half in that game where he got hurt. He was a dog, and his confidence never wavered. You know, he was shooting that ball whether he made 2 in a row or missed 5 in a row. And he likes to play in attack mode, and he's physical. So I have really high hopes for Kawhi. Would love to have him back here. He's doing some of the draft process right now. We're talking to teams. We're just doing draft interviews over Zoom, and working in what he's able to do. But if something doesn't work out there, I'm hopeful that he'll be back with us.
Obviously, here at NBL Overtime, we've tried to become a little more technology savvy, and you mentioned Zoom and players having to do different interviews. How are the Cairns Taipans gone about it? Have you had to lift your technology game, Mike?
Well, it's been more WhatsApp for us, and definitely as far as coaching, some clinics and some just conversations with coaches. It's a mix of the Zoom stuff and also just talking to guys through the just regular telephone, some and some WhatsApp where we have a group chat, and then also just texting, which I'm getting better at texting. These young guys love it, and sometimes I'll call them, they won't answer, and then they text me back.
Yeah, what's up?
Not good enough, but yeah. So we've done a mixture, but just trying to stay in touch, and at the same time, this is our off season. This is guys' off season, so we're not trying to be around them, with the computer or be around them through WhatsApp 8 hours a day. This is when they would be somewhere else doing their thing. So it's talking to them about their well-being, having Riley Masella, our strength and conditioning guy, talk to them and kind of look over their programs and talk to them. Having Mitch Smith, our nutritionist, continue to be a part of their, weekly or monthly little world. But they need to have some time also where we just hit them occasionally, and some of the stuff that's put out on WhatsApp is just jokes or a quick hit and making fun of somebody so that a couple of other guys pile on, and then everybody's doing okay.
Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved, Cairns Taipans fans. And actually, plenty of them. Winning in sport solves most things, and everyone jumps on a bandwagon, and we're no different here. But the Taipans community, and in your 2 years there, has just started to get bigger and better last year. And that last game, I think it was Illawarra that you beat. I think we commentated the game, and it was seemed like a party atmosphere from where we were. Do you notice the community support and the intensity of it grow when you had the year like you did last year?
Well, I definitely think the enthusiasm grows. Like this place was rocking when we were 6 and 19, or 5 and 19, whatever we were. And I had like a full head of dark hair before this job started, before that year. And I'm going gray before their eyes. And I would come off the floor after a tough loss, and someone would come up to me and go, "What a great game." This was our fans. "What a great game." And I'd kind of turn and they'd be like, "You guys played really hard. You guys competed. That's all we want." So we heard that so many times during the first season and even though it was frustrating for us to not be winning games, that's what they want. And same thing this last year. Obviously, the entertainment level, I think, with some of the athleticism and players we had, and Scott running the show, that was special. And there was some phenomenal, fantastic, entertaining plays. So I think the enthusiasm went up with that. But at the end of it, when you're talking to our fans, if you play hard and show that you care, then they're pretty happy. And I felt that through this season as well.
Homicide, any last thoughts? And then Liam, and then we'll let Mike get back to all the great stuff he's doing up in Cairns.
Coach, good luck, man. You have a hell of a decision to make. I wish you the best.
Well, I hope it can be our decision. I appreciate it. But all these guys making decisions about every which way, and what's best for them and their families. But we're gonna try to get better.
We are going to end the show. Mike, thank you. First time on the show. We appreciate it. You're welcome back anytime. Anytime you want to come on, just drop us a text. We'll say that I'm not sure if you've caught much of NBL Rewind. Liam and I on a Thursday, we watch an old game and then we talk about it, and a great deal of fun. We've had Homicide on as a guest because, of course, a win that he had in Perth many years ago. Looking back, more as a player than a coach, but more as a player, is there a game that you think we should have a look at in NBL Rewind next couple of weeks?
Well, I can't remember if you had one of Drew's games on, right?
Yeah, we had when he had 59 and they scored 100,000 points against Illawarra.
Yeah, I'd probably say for me, NBL wise, it would probably be when we won the second game against Melbourne when I was with the Southeast Melbourne Magic in 6, because that was a good close game. They blew us out in the first game and we blew them out in the third game. But that second game was a fighter, a tough nail biter, and we end up winning. And I think for me, that would be one that I look back and it just kind of gives me the butterflies again.
This is always a tough question, but do you remember what was going through your mind? Because Copes had that 3 that went in and out that would have put him in front with 10 or so seconds to go. Do you remember what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I can't believe McKinnon missed his assignment and wasn't guarding Copeland. But, no, I can't remember. It's a blank. I think when everything's happening so fast, and I just remember a couple tough plays, but I do remember it was like us against Illawarra this year when LaMelo hit that 3 to put it into overtime. It's like, I thought you had him. So no, it was a special time though.
There was no doubt the Magic Tigers rivalry was going to pop up on NBL Rewind sometime soon. So we're going to have a look at that. Mike, again, congratulations on a wonderful year, both individually as a coach and as a team, which you always talk so much about. So looking forward to the off-season, getting through safe and sound in NBL 21, mate. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys and what you do. It's awesome.
All right, from us.
Hey, Coach, take care.
We're done. We're done. Homicide, continue your social media work. Liam Santamaria, we'll be back with Rewind on Thursday. We're going to look at the USA Boomers game when the Boomers knocked off the USA, and Andre Lamanis will join us. # NBL Overtime to get involved. We'll see you all next week.
Peace.